I would say the good thing about Corona is that it's so unique the way I personally have had my symptoms that I do not need to take a test. I can just see how my sickness evolves and then I'll know it's Corona.
So this video is about my experience with having Corona 2 times. And before I go into the video, I want to say, I do, as you know, pre-record videos just so if I have a bad time, that you can always rely on there being videos to watch. This video was filmed in December of 2022. It's a couple of months old, just so you know it before you watch the video, because the last time I had Corona was in December of 2022. And we are now in March of 2023 while I am editing this video.
Hello guys and welcome back on my channel. So what I wanted to talk about today is actually Corona. So the virus we got with the pandemic. So first of all, I want to say that in this video I'm going to be talking about how it has looked for me when I've had Corona, the symptoms I've had, and of course the symptoms vary from person to person. Some people get more severely ill and some will get less severely ill. Some will probably not even notice that they're sick. And how sick you will become, it depends on your immune system, and it depends on if you've gotten all the vaccines you needed to get. We have reached a point now where doctors only give Corona vaccines to the people who are in most need, you could say. So people who has a higher risk of getting really ill from Corona is the only people who will get the Corona vaccine now. I'm pretty sure if you want the Corona vaccine as a normal person, you have to pay for it. I'm not even sure that you can actually get it if you're not in these certain groups who has a higher risk of getting really ill with Corona. We do not get the vaccine anymore. I got the free shot with Pfizer, and now I will not be getting any more vaccines. And that kind of scares me because I'm getting Corona a lot, and it really takes a toll on me. I would say it really does. It's a little bit scary because I'm sure if you have to pay for it, it's really expensive, and probably can't afford that. So me personally, I've gotten all the free vaccines that I should get, and since then I've been sick with Corona 2 times this year. So the first time is after my boyfriend, he had become sick, and I actually thought that I skipped it and that I wouldn't become sick. But of course I got, I think it's a PCR test it's called. It's a test where they test you in the throat. So the test where you almost vomit because they have to go so far down in your mouth to do the test. So I got the test done, and I think it's the test that takes a little longer to come back with the answer. I think it actually takes a couple of days, but it got back positive. I think it was the same evening, and I think it was the same evening or the day after. And I already knew the day after, I think that evening, that I've become sick because my throat started to hurt. And then the next day my nose started to run. The nose was running and my throat was hurting, and then it just got worse. So in the first couple of days I just got the normal symptoms that you would get from a cold, and then it started getting worse. So I think it was on the 3rd or 4th day where I started to get a fever. So my entire body was hurting a lot. So I had a really hard time with sleeping, and I just remember when it was at its worst, my entire body was hurting, everything was hurting. I'm just sitting crying because I had a fever, and as far as I can remember, I have never had a fever that I've known of before this. So I really didn't know the symptoms. So of course I took painkillers a little too late. And when I went to sleep, I just remember that I was sweating so much that I was totally drenched. And The bed was drenched, the blanket I have on was drenched, everything was just drenched because I sweated so much. And I think that night I had to change like 2 times or something because my clothing would just get drenched. And I remember the next day I also had a high fever, and I think it was around the 5th day I begun to get better. And then I begun to get better. I just got this really, like I would say, a really big craving for just anything I could drink and eat, because while I had corona I could barely drink and eat anything. And then afterwards I had this cough, and this cough just went on for, I don't know, 10 days or something after I actually was feeling better from corona. After I no longer had corona, I was coughing. So my taste buds when I was sick, of course, disappeared completely, because they often do that when you're sick. And after I felt better, after the 5 days I think it was, I still hadn't gotten all my taste buds back. So it's weird, because if you can't taste the food as well as you normally do, you really focus on texture and you eat until you're full. And after I've had corona, I can't eat as much as I could before. So maybe that is linked to my taste buds weren't completely back yet. And that was in March of 2022, where my boyfriend was sick and then I was sick. And then this time I got corona again. And I knew all the symptoms. And I would say one thing that makes corona different from other things you can get sick with is that, for me personally, when you hit that starting fever point, your body it hurts everywhere. So you can't sleep, for example. Normally it's hard to sleep, but that's mostly because you can't breathe and maybe you're feeling a little bit unwell. But with corona, when you hit the starting fever point, or you already have a fever, it's just like your entire body really hurts and you can't sleep for it. And this time around I was also woken up one night because my body just ached. It really hurt. And I, of course, started to take painkillers because I already knew the symptoms, and I didn't want to get as high as a fever as I got the first time around, because now I knew the symptoms. And I would say, just in general, what is so special about corona is that the symptoms is so specific. Like that's, of course it looks like something else, you know, with your nose is runny and you can't breathe as well as and your throat is hurting, all that. That can look like something else, but all the other symptoms just does not look like anything else. Just the way your body hurts, the way you get this intense craving after food and liquid when you've begun to become well, and just then afterwards the cough that just doesn't go away for a while, and you can't taste as well for a while after, so you have lost some of your taste buds. And it takes quite a while also to regain my energy again. So we have the 22nd of December of 2022, and I think it was around the 20th where I started, you know, feeling well again. So it's really only a few days where I've been well again from having corona. The second time this year. So I would say all around, there's definitely harsher things you can be sick with. But the way your body hurts when it starts hurting after, for me it's after around the first 2 days. So on the 3rd and the 4th day usually is where I get a fever and where my body just aches really much all over the place. That is something I would say that is unique to corona, the way your body hurts. And I will also say what is unique is that even when you're well, you still have symptoms after. Like you're coughing and you can't taste as well, and your energy isn't completely back yet, and it still feels a little bit like your nose is stuffy, even though it's not running anymore. It just still feels like your nose is a little stuffy. I wanted to talk about some of these symptoms, simply because I would say the good thing about corona is that it's so unique the way I personally have had my symptoms, that I do not need to take a test. I can just see how my sickness evolves and then I'll know it's corona. And as it is right now, of course, like, my country wants you to stay at home if you're sick, but it's just a normal sickness now, so you don't have to get tested. So you can be out in the normal society and just getting everybody else ill. What I really miss from the corona pandemic is that people were better at, wearing masks and better at not being close to each other and staying home when they're sick and all that. And now it's just back to normal society. And usually I'm not sick that much. It took me like 2 years that I got corona. So I'm pretty proud of that. So for 2 years I did not have corona while we had the whole pandemic. And now I've gotten 2 times this year. And honestly, I'm just afraid that it's something I will get sick with often. So the whole part about regaining your energy is normal after you've been sick. I just think with corona it takes a while longer before you've regained your normal energy. So what is, you can say, harsher about corona is that there's so many symptoms after you've had it. I know people can't taste for a while after they've had corona. So I can taste some things, I just can't taste like everything. So what I notice more, like I've said earlier in this video, is the texture and not how it tastes as much, because I can't taste as much. But I wanted to make this video just because maybe it can help somebody out there kind of find out a pattern with corona and find out if they're sick with corona again. I would say if your body starts hurting like a lot, just in general when you have corona, check your temperature. Because maybe you're like me and on the 3rd and 4th day you will have fever. So it's really, really important that you have some painkillers at home that you can use. And of course you have different brands, different countries, but it needs to be a painkiller that of course can lessen your fever. But I think the pharmacy can help you with that. But it's just important to have that kind of painkiller. And for me it also helped having like a spray for your nose. So you can spray your nose when you have a runny nose, so you can still breathe at night, I would say. And just try your best to relax and not too much, because it's so weird, corona, because I would say other things are harsher to be sick with, like a sinus infection. That usually when I've had a sinus infection in the past, I've been sick for like 2 weeks, and now I've been sick for around 5 days, you could say. And I prefer 5 days over 2 weeks, and I'm really happy that I'm well, because tomorrow we are going up to in-laws to celebrate Christmas. And I'm happy that I am not sick, but I still feel kind of sluggish and sick. I'm confused, I'm tired, I'm coughing. My nose is not running, but still feel like stuffed and just have no energy. Can't taste as well. So I notice texture, I don't really notice how it tastes. But I'm really looking forward to spending Christmas with them, because they're just really, really sweet. So yeah, again, I hope this could help somebody out there. And there's probably some symptoms I forgot to talk about it, but I just thought I would talk about like the symptoms in general and how it evolves, because I think with corona it's really specific how the disease evolves when you have it. So the first 2 days it feels like normal cold. The 3rd and 4th day it feels like you've been hit by a bus or something. Your entire body hurts and you might start developing a fever like I do on these days. And then around the 5th day you start feeling okay again, and then after that you usually are well again, but you still have these aftermath symptoms. So you still have these symptoms after you have become well after corona. So yeah, I had actually a doctor's appointment today but I had to cancel it. I moved it further into the future because I didn't really know if I would be well today. And it's like you almost don't feel like you should be around other people because you still feel kind of sick, but you know that you are over corona, because I know how it is having corona, and I know I'm well from corona, but you're still kind of sick without being sick. It just has such specific symptoms, and it's just so weird. And believe me, you will be able to recognize corona from how the sickness evolves when you have it. And honestly, what I'm most afraid about is that I'll get corona all the time, because it is a harsher thing to have, because it is really hard on your body, and that's why you get fever. Because usually I don't get a fever from being sick. It really is really hard on your body, and that shows in the symptoms that you had after you become well, that you still have symptoms after you've become well again. It's really different from everything else, I think. And that's how I can like recognize it, from how it evolves when I have the sickness. That said, it's of course never fun being sick, but again, as I've said many times now, I'm kind of rambling, but I really hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I'll see you soon in another video. Bye guys!